Hey guys, it is Ben, aka the Fuseboxx. It is time for yet another comic book review. And this one I have been very much looking forward to, as this is probably my favorite book that I've read in the indie comic space. The writing is superb. I'm getting that out right out of the way, but don't click off the review yet because, I got more to say. This is Infinitale Chronicles by Chris Fisk, a friend of the channel, and I love this book. It is lore heavy, but it balances it out perfectly with character. So let me go ahead and just kind of give a brief overview. So this is book 2 of Infinitale Chronicles, known as Seeds of Defiance. Unfortunately, I did not read book number 1, but luckily, there is a summary page in the beginning that got me up to speed pretty quick. So essentially, the main character of this story, Iceland, is Queen of the Elves of Goeden? Yeah, it's a sovereignty. And she and her husband, the king consort, I guess it's her husband. I know Chris, when he was talking about the story, he was basically saying that female elves are kind of in positions of power, and the men that they're with are kind of like, I guess that they're their live-in hoes. I don't know entirely. They're in love, so there's that going for it, but he is the king consort, which, consort, when I hear that, I just think hoe. So I'm guessing he is her bottom bitch. In this kingdom, elves are immortal, and births are very rare, like astronomically rare, because they don't really need to keep replenishing their numbers. A very rare event has occurred in which Iceland and her hoe have conceived and given birth to a child. However, they have also been given news that the gods have deemed that this child must be sacrificed. So that is the main dilemma that propels the story forward. Queen Iceland has a dream in which a blue wisp entity tells her that she has to make a journey. I'm being very vague and simple with that. Her hoe decides to go in her stead because she is ill. And on the journey, he finds a special magic book, and he ends up being captured by the sworn enemy of the elves, a race known as the Fauns, and meets with their leader Galinar, who basically proposes an alliance of their peoples, because there's new portents saying that the gods that are demanding sacrifice are false gods, and that the book that they have in their possession will give them the power to take them on. That's where book 1 pretty much ends, and book 2 kicks off where Iceland decides reluctantly to make a trade where she exchanges her baby for another baby, because apparently after she gave birth, other elves started reproducing. I guess it was a social contagion. It was a fad. I don't know. It was popular. She exchanged her baby for another baby of another villager who didn't want their baby because they had 2 different color eyes. So essentially they were going to sacrifice the unwanted child in the stead of the prince. It's kind of brutal, makes me kind of sad, but if you're from California, this probably sounds perfectly normal. This whole journey continues where she's getting used to the baby. One of her soldiers finds out the secret and ends up getting killed, and the queen is very wrought with guilt and is distraught about all of this. And in the meanwhile, her hoe, Cowlin, is undergoing magic training by Galinar, and he and his favorite soldier are essentially undergoing these lessons daily while butting heads with a lot of the fawns around them, because there's a lot of bad blood between their people. And yeah, I'm not going to give any more away of the story. I think everybody needs to read this. Let me go ahead and break into the positives. Artwork is amazing, and the art style, particularly with the styling of the characters, it's very distinct, and I love it. It's very easy on the eye. All the characters are attractive looking, and it's kind of like fusion of artwork you would have seen from certain PS2 games, combined with a bit of an anime style with a nice American twist. Catches the eye, especially Iceland. Iceland catches my eye a little too much. It fills me with confusing feelings because a man is not supposed to mate with artwork, but here we are. And the story, as I said in the beginning of the video, the story is the perfect balance between exposition of a very complex lore and character development, and it's all spread out evenly to the point where they're not front-loading you with too much information. You get some nice character development moments, a lot of interpersonal drama, which I find a lot of comics kind of lack. Excellent work on that. I highly recommend. However, as always, there are some negatives that we need to go over. Not too many negatives. I was trying to rack my brain to find some negatives, and I was having trouble. But there were a couple of points where I'm like, maybe we should tweak this a bit. The big bugaboo I have is in Howland's storyline with the Fauns. I find it odd, considering the bad blood between the Fauns and the Elves, that the leader Galanar is very welcoming and accommodating towards Howland and his best friend Soldier. You'd think there'd be more tension between them, but he's just welcoming them with open arms and teaching them very rare and dangerous magic, which could easily be used against his people. And he's seeming to do this without really any hesitancy or any misgivings. I think that that's a little off to me. I think that there should have been a little bit more tension between those characters. I think that Galanar should have been more reluctant or more hesitant. I understand in the context of the situation, he needs them in order to help overthrow the false gods. I get that. It can't be like, okay, I'm gonna just shove you away kind of thing. But there really should have been just more tension there, more hesitancy. They introduced the character Nessa, who is a faun who is going through PTSD from an elven attack. And she seems very hesitant in the way that I thought Galanar should be, and I was really enjoying that aspect. And the elves were kind of being flippant, being like, oh, I think she has a crush on you, ha ha ha. Like, to me, that should have pissed her off. But it didn't really seem to piss her off. She just seemed uncomfortable. And then later on in the story, she seems to make amends with the Soldier kind of quickly. Like, they start working together like a team almost instantly. I wanted to see more tension and depth there. I wanted to see more of a sense of animosity, especially since it's introduced in the story that she's got PTSD. We go through the flashback. So you'd think that that would be a more prevalent story point. You'd think that she would probably not trust the elves, and she might even try to sabotage their efforts. There would be some conflict between the two, but there's really not any of that. So I would have suggested adding more of that, and especially since when it comes to the magic lessons, it seems very straightforward. It's very much like, okay, today you're going to learn this spell. They do the spell. Okay, cool. That's it. Good night. There's a little bit of conflict with another faun, but then that's pretty much it. And it's, okay, next day, next lesson. Here's what we do with that. Blah, blah, blah. There wasn't enough character building in those moments, and there wasn't enough tension. So I would have suggested adding that. But other than that, those were really the only negative points I found. This is a very well put together book. Gorgeous. Highly recommend. If I have to put it on a scale, I would give it an 8.9 out of 10. Everybody should go ahead and go on the website of Infinitale Chronicles. Get yourself a copy of these books. You will love them. I guarantee it. And if you like anything I had to say, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications. And heck, if you didn't like anything I had to say, go ahead and hit the dislike button. Because whether you love us or hate us, it doesn't matter. It feeds us. Oh yeah, and I keep forgetting to do this. Follow me on Twitter at Fuseboxx7. Follow me on Instagram at Outlaw Nights. And follow me on Facebook under my real name, Ben Fuselier, Fuselier. Thank you so much for joining me once again, ladies and gentlemen, and I will talk to you all later.